Story 1. As a Russian, I can tell you potatoes are the best food. They are cheap, versatile, and do not spoil easily. My ancestors survived cold winters and wars by eating potatoes. You can slice them thin and fry them, boil them, bake or roast them, grill them or mash them. Story 2. I make hobo dinner when I go camping. It has ground beef, onions, carrots, potatoes, and a bit of garlic. I wrap the mixture in aluminum foil, preferring the non-stick kind, and place it on hot coals in the campfire. Friends who have never camped with me are always impressed. Story 3. Baked potato with cheese and broccoli on top. Buy 1 pound of baking potatoes, a block of cheese, and a bag of frozen broccoli. This makes about 3 to 6 servings. If you are feeling adventurous, add some canned chili. Canned chili for hot dogs works best. Can cost as little as 50 cents. Story 4. Sometimes Little Caesars throws pizzas into the dumpster outside after closing. Story 5. Congee. Add rice and plenty of water to a pot. You can keep it plain or sprinkle some chicken bouillon powder and add slices of fresh ginger. Cook until it reaches a creamy porridge consistency. Top your bowl with scallions. I am feeling sick, so I make this because it is easy on the stomach. Story 6. I was a single mother at university. To stretch my budget, I made soup at home. For years I ate it every day for lunch and sometimes for dinner. Story 7. Stir-fry chicken and rice with many tiers. Use low-sodium soy sauce. Story 8. Pour dessert. Flour tortilla with butter, cinnamon, and sugar. Story 9. Ramen drained of broth served with a simple pad Thai-style sauce. Mix 1 tablespoon of peanut butter in a small bowl with enough soy sauce and sriracha to make a smooth sauce. Pour over the cooked ramen and serve. It tastes good and contains protein, fat, and carbohydrates, with a bit of sweetness and heat. It is not the most nutritious meal, but it is better than Oreo cookies. To reduce fat and sodium, substitute powdered peanut butter and coconut aminos for the peanut butter and soy sauce. This can cut fat and sodium by about half. The dish can be made vegan. Story 10. Potatoes in every way possible. Wow, so many fellow spud enthusiasts. To set the record straight, I am a female, French by blood, raised by Lithuanians, not Irish. I see you, Lax. Story 11. Here is a serious answer. Get a can of black beans and some inexpensive salsa. Drain the beans, put them and the salsa in a skillet, and cook for about 10 minutes. Crack a couple of eggs and let them poach in the beans. Serve with inexpensive bread or tortillas. These are very inexpensive ingredients, and the dish is high in protein, so it is filling and healthy. You can also sauté any vegetables you have or add any spices you like. Shakshuka is where I got the inspiration for this dish. My boyfriend does not like tomatoes, but we love Tex-Mex flavors, so I made up this altered version for us. Story 12. Grilled cheese sandwich. Edit. You all are making some fancy sandwiches, and do not get me wrong. I'm not mad about it. But a cheap grilled cheese made with stale white Wonder Bread. I cannot believe it is not butter, and some Kraft singles holds a special place for me. Story 13. Poor man stew. Ground beef, potatoes, and onions. Combine cooked ground beef with potatoes and onions in a pot of water. Cook until the potatoes and onions are tender. Add salt and pepper to taste. Serve and enjoy. Story 14. A quesadilla is basically a more ethnic grilled cheese. Story 15. Straight up peanut butter. Don't say you've never filled up that way. Story 16. Another post expressed alarm at the possibility of a shortage of ramen noodles because of the virus. Story 17. I put some macaroni and cheese inside a grilled cheese sandwich. Delicious. Story 18. A grilled cheese sandwich with a side of Campbell's bean and bacon soup. It will set you back about $1.50. Story 19. Walk-in tacos. Basically, you get a snack-sized bag of your favorite chips and fill it with taco meat, lettuce, tomatoes, sour cream, and other toppings. Now you have walk-in tacos. I was shown this a few years ago by my cousin who worked for a traveling carnival. On the topic that it is not cheap, we have used everything from Yardbirds to McDonald's patties for the meat. Walk-in tacos or taco in a bag. Walk-in tacos sounds better in my opinion. It is like Burger King. Have it your way. Make it how you want. Story 20. A campfire and a can of beans. Hopefully baked beans, but whatever the food shelf is providing that day is all right. Story 21. Beans and rice are economical staples. You can buy large bags of dried rice and beans cheaply at wholesale stores, and a big bag will last a long time. Add a little butter and inexpensive spices, and you have a tasty and healthy meal. Story 22. I prefer Southern buttermilk cornbread and La Preferida pinto beans. Story 23. Hello. Thank you all for the awards. I have had to sleep through dinner and breakfast many times. I hope everyone currently in that situation will have better days. They are coming. Trust me. Story 24. Canned corned beef hash is salty enough to pickle you, but absolutely delicious on buttered bread. Story 25. French omelets. Ingredients: eggs, milk, cream, butter, salt and pepper. They require some practice to make well, but once you learn, you can have a quick and delicious meal in seconds. Note: some people say milk or cream is not necessary, but the French chef who taught me this recipe recommends using both, so I stick with it. Story 26. Loco Moco. White rice, a hamburger patty, gravy, and an egg on top. Story 27. 333 chili. Super easy, cheap, and satisfying. I call it 333 because it needs 3 kinds of canned beans, 3 peppers, and 3 onions. I use a serrano pepper because I like heat. Add 2 cans of tomatoes, chop and mix everything, and let simmer on the stove uncovered for at least 1.5 hours. The longer the better. Add broth as needed. Filling, cheap, and awesome. Serves 4 or more. Story 28. My dad lived on his own from the age of 14, and he had all kinds of poor man dinners like boiled chicken. It was as bad as it sounds. My absolute favorite was pasta shells with cheese whiz and canned tomatoes. Story 29. I used to love pork and beans as a kid. Sweet baked beans and sliced hot dogs. Laughing out loud. Story 30. Macaroni and cheese with ground beef and taco seasoning, baked in a pie plate with breadcrumbs and extra cheese on top. It is just amazing. Story 31. Spam casserole. I don't know the recipe, but it's spam, elbow macaroni, and some sort of cream sauce. It was stupidly cheap to make, and my mom made it a lot when I was a kid. I didn't realize we were poor, but we stopped eating it around age 17. When I was about 23, my mother invited me for dinner and asked what I wanted. I asked for the spam casserole because I had not had it in ages. She was shocked and asked why I wanted it. I said I loved it growing up. She said she had only made it because we were very broke and it was all she could afford, and she had felt guilty for years about making it so often. I told her I loved it and had thought we had it so often because I liked it. Story 32. Boil 1 cup white rice and add cilantro if you have it. Prepare 2 cups dried black beans. Soak for 24 hours or cook from dry in an instant pot or pressure cooker. Melt 1 tablespoon neutral oil, such as canola or vegetable oil. Olive oil works but is more expensive. Butter is a good budget choice. Dice half an onion and fry it in the oil. When translucent, add the soaked beans. Stir in oregano, cayenne or chili pepper, cumin, black pepper, garlic salt, and 1 teaspoon lime juice concentrate. Let flavors mingle until the beans are fully cooked. The cost per serving is less than $50. Serve the beans over rice. Optional toppings: a little cheese, sour cream, or diced tomato. Toppings add about $75. The upfront cost is low, and you can buy ingredients in bulk. One batch costs about $30 and makes 4 servings. Don't skimp on the oregano. It is inexpensive in bulk. Grate your own cheese rather than buying pre-shredded. Pre-shredded cheese is more expensive. Grating your own gives more variety, better flavor, and more volume. Story 33. Project donuts. Take biscuit dough and cut a hole in the center of each piece. Fry the pieces in a skillet until golden brown. Sprinkle with powdered sugar or spread cake icing on top. Use the cut centers to make donut holes. Better than Dunkin'. Story 34. In many cuisines around the world, the dishes of poor people are often the best. Maybe I'm just generalizing. Story 35. Poor man's steak. Seasoned hamburger patty with sautéed mushrooms and onions on top. Story 36. Eggs cooked in many different ways. I prefer omelets with chopped vegetables. Story 37. Cacio e pepe is simply spaghetti with a sauce made from reserved pasta water, a generous amount of Parmesan cheese, and black pepper. It is delicious. Because the cheese will melt, you do not need a high-quality cheese. One step above the shaker cheese is fine. Story 38. A basic Korean meal can be very inexpensive. For example, white rice, kimchi, doenjangjigi, similar to miso soup, other side dishes such as prepared bean sprouts, pickled radish and cucumbers, and a fried egg on top of the rice. Bonus if you have some dried seaweed to wrap the rice with your chopsticks. This is simple, but mixing the banchan and rice with some red pepper paste, gochujang, and sesame oil creates bibimbap, a delicious dish. Story 39. Try rice with beans or lentils. For a fancy-looking but inexpensive dish, make stuffed squash. Take a large squash, cut it in half, scoop out the seeds, and fill the cavity with whatever stuffing you prefer and have on hand. Stale bread, cornbread, cooked rice, barley, any grain, or box stuffing. A little brown sausage can be nice, but it is not necessary. Add some salt and a few herbs such as parsley or thyme, if you have them. Bake the squash and you will have a dish that looks impressive but does not cost much. Story 40. Lentil soup. Simmer the lentils with diced red onion, garlic, and 1 or 2 bay leaves. Add tomato paste, salt, pepper, and oregano if available. Drizzle with olive oil and vinegar. Story 41. I like anything with hot sauce. 2 scrambled eggs in a wrap with hot sauce keep me full until lunch. Story 42. Bean burritos and quesadillas. Bonus points if you find a hot sauce you really like. Story 43. A fried bologna and Kraft single sandwich is nice, but both ingredients are kind of pricey these days. Story 44. We ate hamburger helper or hot dogs and beans. I grew up eating this in Detroit. We were dirt poor, but my mother always found ways for us to have a good meal. Story 45. Scrambled eggs with rice and a little hoisin sauce. Extremely filling. Asian cuisine has it figured out. Story 46. This thread made me realize that my family was poor when I was growing up. Story 47. Peanut butter and motherfucking jelly sandwich. Cannot afford bread? Shit, put it on some saltines. Same fucking thing. Story 48. A $3 to $4 meal that lasted 2 nights for me and my 2 children when they were small. A box of whole grain wheat or spinach spaghetti, butter, dry grated Parmesan, olive oil if available, garlic, and a bag of frozen mixed vegetables, all tossed together. A $3 meal that provided several lunches for all of us. 1 or 2 cans of tuna, mayonnaise, a bit of seasoning or sauce that was handy, and a box of whole grain shell pasta or macaroni. Use a head of romaine lettuce to wrap scoops of the tuna salad. I miss when the children were small and neither followed a pescatarian nor a vegan diet. I love my teenagers now, but meal planning became very complicated in a few short years. Story 49. Potatoes, butter, soy sauce. Potatoes, butter, bacon. Use potatoes from a can, or once-cooked starchy potatoes, and fry the bacon and potatoes together. Cook bacon and onion with dried mixed herbs. Add a splash of tamarind sauce if you can get it, or paprika and cumin if not. Cook for a little longer. Add chopped tomatoes, 2 tablespoons tomato puree, and 1 tablespoon garlic puree. Let this cook for a while, then add rice to the mixture. Back in the United Kingdom, I used to be able to make 10 portions at 20 pounds per portion. It works on its own, but it is much better as a base recipe to add other ingredients to. If you can afford it, add more meat. Cheese on toast. Toast one side of your bread under the grill on medium-high heat. Flip the bread, put your cheese on it, and put it under the grill until melted. Tastes better than a cheese toast tie, though it is less cheese per slice. Sandwiches, ham, cheese, and salami are very filling on the right bread and cost very little. Dried noodles cooked in stock. Assuming you already have stock cubes. Following the instructions on the stock cubes, cook the noodles in water with the appropriate amount of stock for the volume. Chicken stock works best as beef can be too rich. Chicken also tends to be compatible with a wide range of extra ingredients you may have available. Celery soup. Add 1.5 ounces 45 grams of butter to a pan and melt it. Cook 3 to 4 sticks of chopped celery in the butter until softened. Add 1.5 ounces 45 grams of plain flour to the pan and stir through quickly. Take it off the heat if you need a little time. Gradually add 450 milliliters of chicken stock, a little at a time, stirring until fully incorporated before adding more. Then gradually add 200 milliliters of milk, using the same process. Bring to a boil, then reduce to a simmer. Allow to thicken to your preferred consistency. Season with salt and pepper to taste. You can add chicken, but it needs to be cooked separately and the oil removed. Best added when the soup returns to the boil. Base recipe makes 2 portions. Chicken, leek, and sweet corn pasta. Modified from a phyllo pastry recipe intended to finish in the oven. Cook chicken and bacon together in a pan, then remove. In a saucepan, cook leek in 2 ounces 60 grams of butter. Add 60 grams of plain flour, mix to incorporate, and gradually add 450 milliliters of chicken stock, then 200 milliliters of single cream. Add more cream if desired. Bring to a boil, then reduce to a simmer. Add the chicken and bacon back into this mixture, plus 1 tin of sweet corn. No more than 1 tin unless making a double portion, as extra sweetness will throw off the flavor balance. Cook pasta, drain, and add to the pan. Stir through a few times and the dish is finished. You can put it in a casserole dish, top with cheese, and bake for 20 to 30 minutes. Or substitute the pasta for potatoes and do the same. Or empty the mixture into the casserole, top with lightly crushed potatoes and cheese, and bake. Personally, I prefer this as a pasta dish. Sausage pilaf. Buy cheap sausages suitable for oven cooking. Cook them, then slice into small pieces and set aside. Cook onion and peppers together in a pan until softened. Add the sausages and heat through. Add rice to the pot and stir until everything is mixed evenly. I usually add soy sauce and Worcestershire sauce to the sausages, onion, and peppers, and I add bacon. I also fry eggs for my rice. Whisk 5 eggs and add them to a hot frying pan with as little oil as possible. Wait for the base to just start to solidify. Then use a spatula, spoon, or other utensil to slice the egg in a grid pattern. The top should still be completely liquid. Add hot rice to the pan immediately and stir through the egg and rice until the egg appears cooked and no rice is untouched by the egg. Immediately add to the other elements and serve. Normally, I make enough rice that I need to repeat this process. Base recipe used to make 6 to 8 portions at about 1 pound per portion. Lapskaus, a Norwegian stew. Use carrots, swede, lots of floury potatoes, and whatever cheap yet flavorful meats you can find. Smoked sausages, heavily salted bacon, gammon offcuts, Frankfurter sausages, the works. Brown your meat in a pan and deglaze as you like. In your main pan, boil the potatoes, carrots, and swede. Once your meat is browned, add it to this pan. You want the potatoes to completely disintegrate, the carrot and swede to remain in chunks, and the mixture to take on the flavors of your meat. The recipe uses a Norwegian spice called sukkerkuler for color and a blend called alt-iett critter. I recommend a savory powdered spice that works with these flavors and apply it liberally. For color, you could maybe add Worcestershire sauce, but use sparingly. You are not meant to add much sukkerkuler because even a little changes the color dramatically. Once the mixture has thickened and the potatoes are gone, serve. It is an inexpensive stew for utilizing scrap meat. Scotch broth majurel. This is my variant on Scotch broth, modified with a Norwegian technique called majurel. The night before, soak the broth mix in a lot of water. You can make your own Scotch broth with 55 grams of pearl barley, 10 grams of dried green split peas, 10 grams of dried yellow split peas, and 25 grams of red lentils, scaled to how much you want to use. I normally soak about 300 grams. It helps to keep the peas separate if you can, then boil them the following day before cooking them in the broth to make them softer. In a slow cooker or a large stock pot, add your broth mix, some carrot, some leek, some celery, and a good hunk of heavily salted meat. Here we use Letzeltet Svinkjot, which is very salty. If you can find an equivalent, you are good to go. Chop the meat small, about 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 3 centimeters, and add to your pot. If you still have space, add more meat, but a higher fat content is best so it becomes soft rather than tough. Cover everything with water and cook on high heat for 2 hours, then on low heat for 6 hours. Stir occasionally, more if you are using a stock pot, and add more water if necessary. The dish is ready at the end of the cooking time. I say this differs from a regular Scotch broth because I normally make a stock from chicken bones, use chicken thigh, and serve traditional Scotch broth unsalted and seasoned to taste, whereas this dish comes already seasoned. Do not add salt to the water unless you cannot find a well-salted meat. You will end up with a dish that is too salty if you do. Hope this helps. Original poster. Story 50. Beanie weenies are baked beans and hot dogs cooked with spices. It is inexpensive and filling. Story 51. SOS hamburger steak on mashed potatoes and toast with brown gravy. Story 52. There is nothing like a campfire and a can of beans. Tom Waits, Lucky Day. Story 53. Frozen bean and cheese burrito topped with a slice of pepper jack cheese. Story 54. Onion, potato, eggs. Slowly fry chopped onions and diced potatoes with some salt and pepper until the onions are soft and a little browned, and the potatoes are soft inside and browned outside. Add a couple of eggs and scramble. Yum. Story 55. Egg in a basket. Sometimes called toad in the hole. Cut a circle out of a slice of bread. Toast it in a pan with melted butter. Crack an egg into the middle, and use the bread to dip into the runny yolk. So simple but feels fancy. Story 56. Fried spam, scrambled eggs, and rice. White trash fried rice, as I call it. If you want, you can add any vegetables you have on hand. Personally, I just like the 3 main ingredients with a little soy sauce on the rice. Story 57. If you give me ramen noodles with Tabasco sauce, I can live off that for weeks. Story 58. Bread with just butter, or peanut butter mixed with honey in a bowl. They were not meals but nice snacks when I was a kid. Story 59. 2 recipes. Fried sausage and taters. Put just enough vegetable oil in a skillet to cover the bottom. Maybe a little more, but do not overdo it. Add diced potatoes and be careful not to burn yourself. Cook covered on medium heat, stirring occasionally. Slice beef sausage and add it to the skillet when the potatoes are about half cooked. You can add diced onions too. If you do, cut them into fairly thick chunks. Try to keep the sausage on the bottom so it browns. Season with salt and pepper. Cook until the potatoes are soft. Low and slow is key. Less than $5. Feeds 3 to 4 people or 1 very hungry person. I always top with ketchup. No milk tater soup. The soup is thickened by boiling the potatoes down repeatedly. Dice the number of potatoes you want. More potatoes means more soup. I always use at least 4 to 5 medium-sized potatoes. Some diced pieces should be smaller and some larger. The smaller pieces will break down for the soup. The larger pieces will remain chunky. Cover the potatoes with water, about 1 inch above the potatoes. Add salt. Bring to a boil over medium or medium-high heat. When the water has reduced below the level of the potatoes, add enough water to cover them again by about 1 inch. Repeat this until the soup reaches the thickness you prefer. Add butter and season with salt and pepper. You can add other seasonings if you like. This was the soup we ate to settle our stomachs or to cure a hangover when we were too sick for dairy or out of milk. Story 60. A pack of ramen and a small vacuum-sealed pouch of Thai chili tuna steak made by Fresh Catch. Best thing in the county commissary. Story 61. A good old po' boy. It doesn't matter if it is chicken, shrimp, or any other protein. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.